in Python. There are various types of loops as we have been discussing in other programming languages, whereby we have while loop, for loop, do while loop, and the for in loop. Now, in Python, there are two main loops that we will be discussing, while loop and the for loop. So in this tutorial, we'll just discuss while loop. Now, we can just go to our project here, then you create a new file, then you can just write it, name it as while loop.py. Okay. After writing that, so while loop, what you need to know about while loop, or what you call, okay, sorry for that, while loop. While loop is applied when one wishes to execute a block of code repeatedly as long as the conditions remain true. So in this tutorial, we'll discuss the use of break, the use of continue statement, and the else statement. We'll also look at that later in our tutorial today. Now, we have just said that this one is used to execute. Okay, we are saying that while loop is used to execute a block of code repeatedly as long as a condition remains true. So that's what we mean by while loop. So for better understanding, we may have an example here to illustrate while loop as used in Python. So let's have an example here whereby we define okay. Okay, now we have said that it uses to execute a block of codes. So this code is executed as long as it remains okay. We may have in this example we also use increment, whereby it will show the value by which it will be adding with. We can have okay, that's an increment. Now we can run the program and see the output. So after running your program now, it prints out numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But because this one is less than, so it stops at 7 because it executes, we have said that it executes code as long as the condition remains true. So when it becomes to 8, so it becomes false. Now the output is here. Now the other part we'll be discussing today is that we'll discuss at break statement, else statement, and also continue statement. So we can start with what we call else statement. Else statement. Now, else statement is used when a condition in a while loop, for instance, you may find a condition in a while loop becomes false, then we can still execute the block of code. Let's have an example. Our else statement is whereby you need to execute block of code, but already it becomes false. We have said that it will stop when it becomes false. So we may have another statement whereby should show the output when the condition becomes false. Now, hereby we'll use what we call now else statement. Now, we may have the same example we were using in our previous part. So, x equals to 1. Again, we can say while then you can have increment here, whereby use can have increment of 1, can have increment of 1, then the other part we just use else. Else is used to print out the other option. Now, when the condition becomes false, we have print the number can have the number is greater or equal to 7. Okay, after this you can have, so here we are using what we call now okay. Okay, this is a statement now that it is shown to print when you use else. Now the number is greater than or equal to pi. Now the other part we'll be looking at is what you call break. We'll be looking at break statement. Look at break statement. Break statement now. For instance, we may be interested to stop the loop even if the condition is true at a certain value, then you will use break statement. Let's have, so you can stop it. Let's say you're saying that x equals to 1, and you can just say while x is less than 5 or less than, sorry for this, less than 6, then you can just say print x. You can have if x equals to 4. You can stop it at 4. So that's an example. Then you can have break. Yeah. Say you have an increment here. So you can have an increment of 1. Now let's run our program and see the output. See now, after running your program now, it stops at 4. Now the other part we'll be looking at is something else we call continue. We have looked at how you can break a statement or you can break a program. Let's say even if it remains true, you can stop it at a certain point. Now look at how you can continue using a continuous statement. In this case, when you break a loop, then you use a continue statement to continue the statement. First loops stops at a certain point as specified in the then it continues. In an example for this example we have given here, we can have the same for continue. Now instead of break here, we can have continue, then this one, just copy paste here and then insert it here. Okay, so this increment is just added before you reach here. So you can have this one. If this one is equals to 4, then you continue, then you print what? Print x, the values. Now it will first stop at 4, then it continues to 6. Now you can run the program and see the outcome. You see now, it first stops at 4, then it continues and it prints out 5 and 6. Okay, now that's what you call now loops or while loop in Python. Next on our tutorial, look at for loop, then we continue on our training. Remember to subscribe, share, and like with your friends. Meet you in our next tutorial. Thank you.